Reminder, if you have not done your feedback forms, now is an excellent time to make sure that those are complete, because we are about to crack into the final presentation of the Waste Management Symposium, which is going to be great. We're going back into the world of Zoom and online presenters now, and presenting on Mobile Muster for regional councils. We have the manager of Mobile Muster, Spyro Kalos with us. Spyro, can you hear me?
I can, and it's actually Spyro.
Sorry, Spyro. I played too many video games in my childhood. It's 100% my fault for really liking to collect diamonds as a small dragon. Spyro, you can hear me okay, and we can hear you very well. And now we can see you up on the screen. Fantastic. So friends in Darwin, can you please put your hands together, and thanks, Spyro.
Fantastic. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. I'm sorry I couldn't be up there, but something called COVID has sort of put a bit of a spanner in the works. Otherwise, I would be up there. To start off with, can I just acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting on today? So the Larrakia people of Darwin and the Gadigal people of the Aurora Nation in Sydney, where I am located, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. So hopefully you can see my presentation. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of things I want to sort of share with you today and the work that
Sorry, Spyro, do you want to press share on your presentation? We just don't have it up yet. That's all good. We got you.
That's okay. We'll get there. There we go. We'll get there in a minute.
All good.
Here we go.
I'm excited to see which font you've gone for. This is my favorite part. Perfect choice. Okay. Look at that.
Now, I don't know if I can put this into presentation mode. Let's see if we can do that so we can get a bigger. You can still see that?
Yeah, perfect. That looks great.
Fantastic. So a couple of things I want to sort of talk through today is look a little bit at the policy landscape in Australia and how it's actually impacting programs like Mobile Muster, and I think also the impact that it will actually have on local government. A little bit about who we are for those that are not familiar with us. The work that we do with local government, and it sort of tie it back into the work we're doing specifically in the Northern Territory. How we go about actually understanding the market and how that influences the work that we do in terms of developing our marketing and comms strategy. And then finally look at what is next for Mobile Muster and just share with you a couple of projects that we're actually doing over the next 12 months. So in terms of the policy landscape in Australia, and I'm sure over the last few days, this has been talked about a fair bit. But to tie it back into, I think, the impact for programs like Mobile Muster, which are product stewardship schemes, the federal government introducing the Recycling and Waste Reduction Bill into Parliament. And what we will see is the Product Stewardship Act, which is an act that Mobile Muster is a part of as a voluntary accredited scheme. What we expect there, and what we're actually in the conversations that we've sort of had with government, is that the government will actually play an active role in promoting schemes under the Act. And this is something that we've sort of been asking the federal government to do more and more for us in terms of recognising the programs and the industries that actually have these stewardship schemes in place. And I think when you talk about Mobile Muster, for example, it is a free program at a national level, and more schemes like this. We need more industries stepping up and taking more of an active role in managing waste that's actually generated by their products. And what we're seeing is, and what we're advocating for, is a national approach to this. And we've seen some states like South Australia and Victoria in recent years introduced e-waste bans in their markets. But I think the outfall of that and local government is probably better to speak to this is what we see is that where you don't have stewardship schemes in place is that local government tends to pick up the shortfall in managing that waste. So you can implement those bans, but you need to really factor in then who is actually paying for the processing and the disposal and the recycling of that material when it actually ends up in the collection infrastructure. I think something that's probably been touched on over the last couple of days is also the upcoming export ban on glass, tyres, cardboard and plastic. And it's something that I will touch on in terms of what we see as the impact for us will be from that perspective. In terms of who Mobile Muster is, so we're technically termed a product stewardship scheme. We are industry managed and funded. So we have a high industry participation. What's quite unique about the program is it is the handset manufacturers that certainly produce the product and also the network carriers that benefit commercially from the product that have actually come together to establish this free take-back program. When the program started, we've been going for 22 years. So back in 1998, it was set up to tackle the issue with mobile phone batteries ending up in landfill. Now, over those last 22 years, the program has actually broadened. So we not only take back mobile phone batteries, but obviously all brands of handsets and accessories and chargers that go along with the product. And we're continually looking at how we can bring greater value to our stakeholders, which include obviously our members, the government, local government, and obviously consumers that are actually using this product. And what we're seeing is the product has evolved significantly over those last 22 years. So when you think about back in 98, it was about batteries, mobile phones and chargers. Fast forward to 22 years to where we are today, and what we're seeing is smart technology in the way of watches, wearables, and also smart home technology. So for us, it's also understanding how the product has actually evolved, and then how do we actually expand that the program to take in a greater range of product. Now, it's something with the introduction of the new bill that the government is certainly looking at us to how we expand our program, but also what they're looking at doing is how do you actually set up a stewardship scheme that tackles all of the e-waste. At the moment, it's only the NTCRS and Mobile Muster that actually play in that space. But the government is proposing that anything that comes with a plug or a battery gets picked up in a stewardship scheme of some form. So if it's not the NTCRS, then potentially looking at voluntary schemes like Mobile Muster to play a greater role. Now, we are formally accredited by the federal government under the Product Stewardship Act, and we have 8 key performance indicators that we're actually measured against. Specifically, so they're the ones that are up on the screen. You can see we obviously have collection targets, and I've actually included the results in the mix. So 84 tonnes last year as our target, 84.7 tonnes is what we finished on, which is a good result in light of the COVID restrictions that actually came in place in Australia at the end of March, which have obviously had an impact on our volumes over the last few months of the financial year. What I think is unknown for us is the impact of COVID is going to have in the coming months as a lot of our collection sites, which have included retailers, and in some states like Victoria, we've had retailers and also local council drop-off points that have actually been closed off to the public. A couple of the other ones to sort of highlight: diversion from landfill. Our recycling rates are actually quite high. Electronic waste is highly recyclable, regardless if it's a mobile phone, a TV, a computer, or even a $7 toaster that comes from Kmart. They are highly recyclable, and there is a high material recovery through the recycling process. A couple of other things that we actually look at is consumer behaviour. So trying to understand what consumers are actually doing with those devices. And what we know is that, especially when it comes to mobile phones, they're not ending up in the general waste stream. What we're seeing is consumers are actually holding on to them for a variety of reasons, and we'll come back to that. And so we estimate there's less than 3% actually ending up in the general waste stream. Accessibility is a new one for us. It's a new measure for the program. We look at how accessible is the program. So one of the things that we certainly work towards is ensuring that Australians have accessibility to our collection points. We have 3,500 collection points across the country, made up of not only retailers, local government, but we also have workplaces and schools that actually participate in the program. So 96% of the population is within 10 kilometres of a mobile muster drop-off point or collection point, and that also includes Australia Post, who we partner with, which we have a free postback solution in place with them. Our industry participation, so 92% of the manufacturers that actually import product into the Australian market participate in the program, and 94% of the network carriers, so that includes Telstra, Optus and Vodafone, all provide funding to support the program. Our funding solely comes from our members. It is the sole revenue, so we don't have any government funding in terms of this program. We are completely voluntary funded by the mobile phone industry. If I can touch on a little bit about our collection network, and then I will talk a little bit about what we do in the NT. We split our collection network into 3 key areas for us. Mobile phone retailers. We have 2,000 retailers participating in the program across the country, and 25% of our overall volume comes from this channel, and 80% of the volume within this channel actually comes from the mobile phone carrier stores, so Telstra, Optus and Vodafone. What's really interesting when we look at the data specific to the collection volume, certainly COVID has had an impact here, with stores being closed for the last few months. The volume have actually dropped in this channel, but what we think is happening in this instance is there's a significant shift on how consumers are actually using their devices. The length of ownership has actually increased from 18 to 24 months, which was in line with what the carriers were doing in terms of contracts, have actually increased now to what we're seeing is at 30%. And we're actually seeing consumers are actually holding on to their devices a lot longer, to the point where they're not working any longer before they actually upgrade their device. Now, what that means is they're putting greater value on that device, and so there is more repair happening. And so what we're seeing is the shift of volume is potentially, for us, is now coming from the service centre and the repair network. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. The second channel for us is reply paid, so it's that free postback option. 16% of the overall volume that we collect actually comes through this channel. Again, impacted by COVID, unfortunately, over the last few months. Consumers can actually pick up a reply paid satchel through Australia Post, or they can actually request a label or a satchel through our website. With more of us actually spending time at home, we've actually seen a 300% increase in requests for those mailing labels, and we've also seen an increase in the average weight of those labels or satchels coming back. The average weight for us has gone from 300 grams to about 1.8 kilos of product actually coming through that collection method for us, which is a great result. And I think it's an indication that with people being at home a lot more, there's an opportunity to sort of clean out and declutter product that they've actually got at home. The third part of the channel for us is the other channel, and that's where we incorporate pretty much everyone else, including service centres, other retailers like your Officeworks, Salvo stores, JB Hi-Fi, for example, local councils and schools. And this is the channel that's actually increasing for us significantly, and has been consistently for the last number of years. And the growth here is specifically coming out of service centres and repair stores. Our repair store network has actually grown from 20 2 years ago to over 250 repair stores now that are actually registered and participating with the program, but also an increase in volume actually coming out of local councils. Again, because of COVID, we've seen a decrease in collections coming out of workplaces over the last 6 months, and we expect that's going to continue probably through till the end of this year. For the first time ever, we've actually partnered with Woolworths, and we're doing a joint collection bin, and we're trialling this at the moment within New South Wales and Victoria in 3 of their supermarkets in each of those states. There's a collection unit that will actually take back all battery types, and obviously product that's in scope for us, so mobile phone components. And this is a trial we're running in light of the battery stewardship scheme that's sort of in its early planning stages. And so what we expect, initial results are showing a high participation by consumers in terms of drop-off of product. And we expect that we will actually roll this out to 800 of their supermarkets across the country. So a really good result for us. Accessibility is the KPI that I sort of talked about. So 96% of Australians within 10 kilometres of a mobile muster collection point. Last year alone, we saw 500 new collection sites register with the program. And we're also seeing reuse and repair continuing to grow in a way of how consumers actually use and dispose of their products. Now, if I tie it back into what we see is happening and the work I guess we do within the Northern Territory, in 2019/2020, just over 1,000 kilos was collected from the state. And that's about 1% of our overall volume, so 1% of the 84.7 tonnes that we collected for that same period. And it's probably about right because the Northern Territory makes up about 1% of the Australian population. About just over 650 kilos came back through the post-back option, and just under 400 kilos came through our collection partners, and that includes the drop-off network, local councils, and any workplaces that actually participate with us. An interesting fact there, and I'll talk a little bit more about the work that we do with local councils, but 22% of that 385 kilos actually came from one council within the Northern Territory. We have 59 drop-off sites across the state, and predominantly these are in the major metro areas, with most of them actually in Darwin. And we have 12 participating local councils across the state. In 2020, East Arnhem Regional Council took out top honours in terms of volume collected, and that actually came from that 22% of the 385 kilos actually came from East Arnhem Regional Council. And I'll talk a little bit about the work that we did with Emma and the team in terms of the success of that partnership. Other top collectors for us from a local government perspective include Darwin Council and Alice Springs Council. There are certainly opportunities to actually grow the volume within the state, and we think that there are opportunities to expand our drop-off network, and we're probably looking at some guidance from you in terms of what is the best approach for us to do that. We estimate 250,000 mobile phones in storage across the state, and 50,000 of those are broken. That 50,000 equates to about 5 tonnes of product that's actually sitting in homes across the state. So certainly an opportunity there to grow the volume that's actually coming out of the Northern Territory. And that's a part of what we see our role to be, is not just in providing the infrastructure to collect this product when it's no longer needed, but also how do we actually educate consumers and residents to take action and actually recycle those devices when they're no longer needed, rather than storing them. So even though they're not going into the general waste stream, I think the missed opportunity is the value in recovering that material and putting it back into the supply chain, into the production of new products. So working with local government is an important channel for us. It has been. We've been partnering with local government for over 15 years. Each year, this channel contributes about 5.5 tonnes, and then we've seen an increase year on year, certainly over the last 5 years, coming out of local government. And I think what we're seeing here is that residents are relying more and more than ever before on local councils for end-of-life solutions in how they best manage products, certainly in our case, mobile phones. And so we are keen to continue the growth with local government and looking at how we can actually play more of an active role in helping you develop customized solutions back into your community. So each year we recognise local government in terms of the volume that they contribute, and we recognise our top collectors in each of the states. And up on the screen, you'll see who the top collectors are across the country. And again, with East Arnhem Regional Council taking out top honours in the Northern Territory. A year ago, we actually developed a short video to sort of tell the story on how we work with local government. So I just want to show that. It only goes for a minute. Let's hope this works.
There's just no audio coming through with the video.
There's no audio?
Yeah, no audio with it.
It's a bit of a bummer. I might just play. There's some stats that come up across the screen, and then I can sort of talk to it.
Yep.
So sorry there wasn't any audio, but what I'll do is I will get a copy of the video to Meredith, and we'll be able to share that out with you. But I guess some of the key highlights there for us is that we actually work with 400 councils across the country, representing 72% of the population. I just want to talk a little bit about the work that we actually did with East Arnhem Regional Council, and I guess this is a partnership that when I was up there last as part of the conference, we sort of met Emma, and this Emma probably should take a lot of the credit for the work that we did in this space. But basically, there was an opportunity off the back of the success of the container deposit scheme up there to look at how we could actually do something similar in terms of collecting and recycling mobile phones. So we provided a small cashback incentive to get people to drop off their mobile phones and accessories for recycling. And I think what's quite unique about this partnership and the work that East Arnhem actually do is they actually go out into the local community. And off the back of that, over 84 kilograms of product was actually collected, so over 400 handsets alone. And I think it's actually going to be more than that, because we've actually just picked up half a pallet that's being processed at the moment through our recycling facility. So certainly a success story in terms of how we can work with local council. And I guess you guys understand your community a lot better than what we do. And then we look to you as to see how we can potentially customize solutions and bring it back to your residents and engage them and get them participating, certainly within Mobile Muster. So it's a great result for us. It's certainly a partnership that we're looking to continue with East Arnhem, but happy to talk to other local councils within the NT and seeing what we can do to actually work a little bit closer with you and engage your local community. Every year we do our own independent market research because we really want to understand some of the barriers to recycling and what consumers actually do with their mobile phones. And we see our role not just only as a take-back program and providing infrastructure for collecting devices and ensuring that they're recycled properly, but we actively play a role in educating consumers on how to best reuse or recycle their device. There is certainly value in extending the life of these devices for as long as we can, and then recycling them through programs like Mobile Muster. What we're seeing through that market research, and there is a report that we actually just released last week, which is available through our websites, and I'll provide all the links for that. But Australians are holding onto their phones for longer than ever before. 1 in 4 of us are actually reusing them, and mainly through family, so either passing them up to a parent or passing them down to a child. And 2/3 of consumers have actually visited an independent repair store. So repair is something that is certainly growing within the market, and we're seeing more and more Australians actually buying secondhand phones than ever before. 5 million broken phones are no longer working, with 50,000 of those actually in the NT. And one of the things that we utilise this market research is to actually help us develop our marketing and comms strategy and tackle those barriers that consumers are facing when it comes to actually reusing. And one of those most common barriers, or one of the most common reasons we hear people are holding onto those devices, even though they're not using them, is that they are concerned about their data. I mean, and that's probably understandable. We're doing more on these devices than we ever have before. And so there is probably a lot more data on them. So for us, it's about educating them how to actually transfer back up, delete that data. And we've developed a heap of resources to do that, again, available through our website. And then effectively educating consumers on the benefits of recycling and why we should be doing more of that. To finish on, I just want to talk a little bit about 2 projects that we're actually working on. One is we're hoping to become the first carbon neutral product stewardship scheme in Australia, and something that we're working on at the moment, and we're hoping to make an announcement in the coming weeks. But the biggest impact of the waste export ban for us is going to be, which I think is going to be a common theme for many people, is the plastic ban. Currently, the plastic that we collect through our program, and last year, to give you an idea of the volume, 30 tonnes of ABS plastics was collected through our network, and that comes from casing, cabling, and so forth. That product, or that material at the moment, is being shipped to our recyclers facility in Singapore, and it's actually getting turned into pallets. With the ban coming into effect, the material will need to be processed to a certain palletized size before it can actually be exported. The cost of actually doing that outweighs the benefit of actually exporting it into Singapore. So I'm currently looking at opportunities or solutions on how we can actually use that material into the manufacturing of our collection infrastructure. So what you're seeing on the screen now is one of our new collection units. We're hoping to make that using the plastics that we actually collect through the network. And I must say, it hasn't been an easy process. We started this project 6 months ago, and the challenge for us is actually finding suitable solutions or manufacturers or processors onshore that can actually deal with this material. So hoping in the next 6 to 12 months we will have a solution, but it's something that is taking a little while longer than I expected. But I think this is going to be the challenge with the bans coming into effect, is what do you actually do with this material, certainly when there aren't any solutions in place onshore. That is everything from me. So thank you again for the opportunity. I'm happy to take any questions, but I also encourage you to reach out to me if there are any opportunities to work a little bit closer with you and your communities.
Let's have a round of applause and thanks, Spyro. Yes. And yes, there is a question straight off the bat. Here we go. Hang on. I'm just going to walk the microphone there.
Great presentation. Thank you. I think I've got about 5 phones in my drawer at home. I just wish I'd kept the first one, the brick. It's probably worth a fortune now. That aside, I just Googled locations, and our head office is registered as a drop-off point, but our remote communities are not. Can we sign up for those remote communities and get whatever we need to become involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just touch on two things there for you? Is the value of these old handsets. And what we're seeing is part of the reason consumers are actually holding on to these devices is perception that they are worth a lot more than they are. The greatest resale value in these devices actually comes within the first 2 years. The longer you hold them, the less likely you're actually going to be able to get any money for them. But in terms of setting up more collection points within your community, absolutely. We're a national program and it extends to regional communities. So my email address is actually up on the screen. So feel free to reach out to me. And I have got a team that can sort of support you in setting up those collection points for sure.
Excellent. Is there another question from the floor? Anyone? No? All right.
One last one from Emma.
No, Emma's had enough. She's done. Can we have a round of applause for Spyro, everybody, and thank him for that presentation? Hope you could hear that round of applause. you
Yes,
just got.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much and take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Friends, we've reached the end of the Waste Management Symposium for 2020. I hope that you've gotten a lot out of it and heard some really interesting things and made some connections. Before we wrap up and have ourselves something to eat, Peter wanted to say a couple of things. So let's give him a round of applause. He makes his way up here, hey?
Firstly, it's just acknowledgement. These events just don't happen. But as Amy mentioned this morning, we received funding from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the Northern Territory Government, to assist in putting this on. But also there's a lot of micro industries that have filled your goodies bags with various products. Just like to acknowledge them. Have a read of the pamphlets, get some information, and support these micro industries. We've had nappies and everything like that, but it is critical. And if there is a take-home message for local government, look at your procurement policies and make sure we've got some weightings around the environment and managing that. The other thing is Meredith and all the presenters. The presentations were a knowledge sharing and they were brilliant and very diverse. From the high level had the minister here was a coup for us, but also we got down to the mums and dads in the street and how they can make a difference and that messaging. So thank you, Meredith, for a very informative program and a very diverse program, and all those presenters have put a lot of time in that knowledge sharing. Once again, Amy kept us on track and acknowledge that. All the best in your future endeavours, and especially your family. And no, it was really good just having that personal touch and sharing with us, and it's greatly appreciated in your timeliness and keeping us on track. This is the first time we're really, with the COVID-19, gone into what I call upmarket professional, but a special thanks to Jen and our IT people at the background side in there, Mike. But really seamless and very professionally put together. And I hope you can acknowledge that and just give them a hand of applause. It was really well done. And probably just, I know that they're getting paid, but Mercure have done a wonderful job in catering and looking after us and making sure that it was an enjoyable event. These things will never happen without bums on seats. So please, thank you very, very much. And thank your councils. Take it back to the CEOs. And please fill out those forms because we want continual improvement. And any feedback, any subject matter that wasn't covered, please let us know because we're here for you. if we don't hit the mark, people won't be coming back. But these events do not happen unless we get the support for your councils and your organisations. And that's the other thing I'm really pleased that Merida has been pulled off. It's just not local government. We've got industry here, we've got non-for-profits, we've got other Indigenous organisations. And the key thing there is collaboration and partnership. Local government cannot do it on its own. It's got to be forming partnerships, collaborations with industry, and to find our solutions to our problems in our community. And all leads to sustainability, but also public health. So once again, thank you very much for your attendance. It seems a long way away, but it's not. Quite exciting. Have a great festive season. Stay safe and look after yourselves. Thank you very much, everyone, one and all. There's plenty of tucker down the back, so please enjoy yourselves and look after yourselves. Thank you very much again.